There comes a moment on the soul's journey when fear surrenders, control dissolves, and human will bows before an infinite, loving, and perfect power, the will of God. It is not resignation, it is not weakness. It is the highest act of spiritual power. When you speak from the depths of your being, "Thy will be done, Lord," something sacred awakens within you. Conflict quiets and the mind aligns, and the inner Christ takes the throne of your consciousness. This text is not just a teaching, it is a surrender. Here you will discover that true peace is not born from changing the world, but from aligning yourself with the divine mind that governs all things. You will learn that Christ is not only a historical figure, but a living presence within you, waiting to be recognized, activated, and expressed. Based on the radiant wisdom of Emmet Fox, these words will guide you to release struggle, silence the ego, and live from the only place where fear cannot exist, the consciousness of the inner Christ. From this moment on, you no longer walk alone, you no longer decide from anxiety. You no longer carry the weight of the world, because when you say with faith, "Thy will be done," and life itself begins to move in your favor, breathe, surrender, and allow the inner Christ to live through you. Let us begin in silence as one enters an invisible sanctuary. Imagine, beloved reader, that each word of this book is a lamp lit in the fog of your thoughts, a lamp that does not force you to walk, but illuminates with clarity the path of your inner awakening. When the phrase, "Thy will be done," is spoken, many tremble, hesitate, or resign themselves. It is mistakenly thought that accepting God's will means renouncing the self, dreams, or individuality. Some imagine a predetermined fate, a rigid and impersonal law that uproots all legitimate desire. But I tell you, with the simplicity of Christ speaking to the depths of your being, God's will is not fatalism, punishment, or bitter resignation. It is the good in action. It is the vital current of eternal love, seeking you, calling to express itself through your life, like the river seeking the sea, the seed seeking the sun. Allow me to explain this clearly so that you never hesitate again when you hear these words in the Lord's Prayer. "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Matthew 6:10. Why did Jesus teach us to pray this way? Because he knew that human suffering does not arise from God's will, but from mental resistance, from the small, fearful self that builds walls and labyrinths. You did not come into this world to fight an inflexible destiny, but to discover your connection with the principle of all good. Surrendering the self is not losing power, it is connecting with the source that gave you being and can do, as Paul says, infinitely more than we ask or understand. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, whose will do I truly wish to accept? Is it the will of a distant, mysterious being? No. It is the will of absolute good, perfect love, the wisdom that sustains the worlds and pulses within your own heart. Could that principle want suffering, scarcity, or disease for you? Impossible. God is life, God is love, God is order, and His will is that you live it, express it, and embody it here and now. The fearful ego asks, but what if God wants something different from my happiness? The inner Christ responds, God cannot will for you anything less than the perfect fulfillment of your being. Whoever says, not my will, but yours, believing they renounce joy or the right to choose, has not yet understood the nature of God. It is not individuality that surrenders, but false identity, the mask of fear and limitation. It is like letting go of a useless weight and discovering that one can walk lighter, freer, more secure. And thus aligning your thought, emotion, and action with the will of good is not annihilation. It is discovering your true power, your rightful inheritance as a child of God. Now, how can you experience this practically? How can you know, amid daily trials, that you are truly doing God's will? Here mental and spiritual discipline becomes indispensable. Knowing this intellectually is not enough. You must train the mind to return again and again to the thought of God. Throughout this book, I will teach you simple yet profound methods, the golden key, which consist of returning the mind to God whenever a concern arises, cleansing the mental field of negative images, and replacing every thought of evil with its divine equivalent. This is not denial of the reality of challenges, but an affirmation of the power and presence of good amid them. I promise that each chapter will provide a concrete tool, affirmations to practice daily, exercises to examine and elevate beliefs, disciplines to purify the heart, and ways to see the good in everything and everyone. You will discover that prayer is not supplication or empty repetition, but a living, conscious affirmation of the truth already present in you. You will learn to discern the voice of the inner Christ in silence, to make decisions from peace rather than fear, and to treat your body and relationships as sacred fields where good seeks to manifest. Let me assure you, God's will for you is perfect good here and now. Do not fear surrendering to that good. It will not take from you anything real. It will dissolve the shadows of error and make you a participant in the joy, health, prosperity, and peace that are your inheritance. The truth is simple. The truth is practical. The truth is alive within you. Dare to walk this path, and you will see how the will of good becomes flesh in your life, bringing more than you ever imagined. Amen. Thy will be done, based on the teachings of Emmet Fox. We have noticed that more than 80% of those who visit our channel are not subscribed. You can support this project by pressing the subscribe button and liking the video. Thank you for inspiring us to keep creating more and better content for you. Are you ready to transform your life? Chapter 1. What is God's will? Definition, myth, and metaphysical precision. Let us begin by clearing, as one lifts the morning fog, all misunderstandings about God's will. For centuries, humanity has feared these words, believing they describe a hidden, capricious plan or some cosmic trap in which the creature is forced to renounce its legitimate desires. But the truth, like the sun, needs no justification. It shines and reveals what is. My task today is to show you, without a shadow of doubt, that God's will is absolute good, and understanding this is not only a comfort for the troubled heart, but the secret key that opens all the doors of your destiny. What then does God's will mean? What lies behind these solemn words so often repeated and so rarely understood? Let us begin with the root, will in the language of the Spirit. It is not arbitrary desire nor a command imposed by a distant deity. Will is the active principle of good. It is the inner law that sustains the universe, the invisible current that orders the stars. It gives form to the seed and meaning to the human heart. Wherever you see harmony, beauty, life, intelligence, there operates divine will. It is love in motion, wisdom in action. It is universal order manifesting in infinite forms and faces. Imagine a field in spring. Every flower blooms where the law of life allows. Every dewdrop reflects the sun according to its nature. No one forced the lily to bloom, nor the lark to sing. They simply respond by affinity to the creative impulse of good. Thus is God's will. It does not impose, it does not force, it does not take away. It expresses itself wherever it finds a willing mind, an open heart, a thought aligned with good. Here, dear reader, pause and ask yourself, what image of God do I truly hold? Do I believe in a Father who gives or in a judge who punishes? Do I envision a creative principle longing for my fulfillment? Or do I fear a foreign will that could take what I love? Consider carefully what Jesus taught. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Matthew 7:9-11. God's will then is to give good things, to give the best, to give abundantly. The human mind burdened with ancient fears often suspects that this good might differ from the good it desires. Have you ever thought, if I surrender to God, perhaps He will ask me to give up my dreams? That is the ego's deception, imagining that divine will competes with legitimate human good. But this is impossible, for God's true will is your fullness, your realization in all realms. There can be no real conflict between absolute good and the purest longings of your being. If friction arises, it comes from a mistaken image, a mental prejudice, not from truth. Good does not deny good. It clarifies it, heals it, elevates it. Here enters the law of the mind, the great revelation of our time. What you hold in your consciousness, what you accept as possible and true, tends to manifest in your life, not by chance, but by law. The mind is the field, thought is the seed, emotion is the water that nourishes it, and experience is the harvest. Therefore, to do His will means at a deep level to uphold good in thought and feeling. Every time you imagine health, peace, prosperity, love, you are aligning with God's will. When you dwell on illness, fear, resentment, you move away from it. Divine will does not impose. It invites, inspires, waits, and as soon as it finds acceptance, it unfolds, like the sun that shines on both good and evil, the just and the unjust. Have you noticed how an idea can change the climate of your life? If upon waking you think, "Today everything will go wrong," unknowingly you have issued a decree, and you will see your prophecy confirmed in both small and large incidents of the day. But if you hold firmly, "God's will for me is perfect good now," and refuse to admit any other power, gradually the atmosphere of your life transforms. Not magic, law. A law as certain as gravity, but spiritual. Hold it for a day, for a week, and you will begin to see small miracles, unexpected solutions, timely help, renewed strength. I cannot advance without reminding you of Psalm 23, that jewel of trust that has sustained countless souls. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake." Could that shepherd wish anything for you other than peace, well-being, clear guidance, and protection? Can this image include a God who delights in your suffering? No, dear reader. Evil is not God's will. It is shadow, error, unfounded belief. God's will is light, and where you accept it, the shadow dissolves. Allow me to illustrate with a simple parable from everyday life. Imagine a loving father watching his child learn to walk. The child stumbles, falls, rises, and tries again. The father does not intervene to remove the experience, but he would never wish for his child to remain on the ground. His will is that the child walk, stand firm, explore the world safely. So God allows your learning, but never desires your permanent fall. Every time you rise, encouraged by new understanding, you fulfill his will. It is time to confront without delay the myth of a capricious God. A God who changes his mind, who rewards and punishes on a whim, who gives favors and then retracts them. That is a mental idol, not the living God. Do not fear destroying that image. By doing so, you are not left without God. You are opening to the real God, the principle of love, wisdom, and order. Close your eyes for a moment and declare, "I reject all concepts of an arbitrary God. I accept God as absolute and permanent good, an inexhaustible source of all harmony." You may ask, what about suffering, trials, losses? The answer is clear. Suffering results from ignorance, from the twisted use of mental law, or from the learning necessary to awaken. It is never arbitrary punishment. Even in the dark night, God's will calls you toward good, guides you, strengthens you, prepares you to receive more. No one escapes the law of good. One may resist it for a time, but ultimately, the inner nature seeks order, health, and joy. I now propose a simple but powerful mini-exercise. Take a few minutes and honestly review your beliefs about God. Ask yourself, have I thought of God as judge or as father? Do I fear him or trust his love? Do I think he could will something opposite to my fulfillment? Commit today to accept that God's will is your highest good. Observe your answers without judgment. If you find traces of fear, resignation, or suspicion, acknowledge them. But do not stop there. Declare firmly, "I choose to believe in the God of love, wisdom, and order. I choose to accept his will as the highest good possible for my life." Do this morning and night, and you will see the new idea begin to plant itself in your subconscious, displacing old error. The practice of this truth requires discipline and constancy. Therefore, I offer you a base affirmation for your days. God's will for me is perfect good now. Do not repeat it mechanically, make it your own. Feel it in the depths of your soul. When fear arises, affirm, "God's will for me is perfect good now." When doubt appears, repeat, "God's will for me is perfect good now." When all seems dark, insist, "God's will for me is perfect good now." Thus, little by little, your mind re-educates itself. Your inner world is reordered, and the outer manifestation follows this new model. Let me close this chapter by recalling the fundamental exegesis of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus did not come to complicate human life, but to show the simplicity of the kingdom. "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." A pure heart is a mind cleared of error, a vision of good trust in divine will. Nothing Jesus taught points to resignation, useless suffering, or victimhood. All is affirmation of life, love, and order. Now, dear reader, you hold in your hands the seed of a new life. God's will does not compete with your good. It reveals it, cleans it of selfishness and fear, and elevates it to its highest expression. Upholding good in your consciousness is your task. Manifesting it is the work of the Spirit. Walk today with the certainty that all that is real, beautiful, and eternal is God's will for you. Do not doubt, do not fear, do not delay. Align your thought, emotion, and words with good, and you will see wonders where you once saw limits. Affirm with me slowly, with faith. God's will for me is perfect good. I accept it, I thank it, I manifest it. And so, step by step, you will learn that God's will is not theory, but a living current that transforms your world from within. That is true freedom. That is true peace. Chapter 2. Scientific Prayer. Method, Structure, and Results. If you truly wish to transform your life, you must understand the nature and power of prayer. I do not refer to superstitious prayer or fearful supplication, but to scientific prayer, the true golden key that opens the treasure of the inner kingdom. When correctly understood, prayer is not the voice of man attempting to persuade a capricious God. It is the ordered and reliable method by which the soul aligns with eternal truth, allowing good to manifest in one's world. There is no higher mystery nor more practical tool. Let me explain it from the beginning. To pray scientifically is first to recognize God, not as a distant, changeable being, but as the principle of all good, the intelligence that sustains the universe, the inexhaustible source of love, life, and wisdom. This is the foundation. Without this recognition, any attempt at prayer is in vain. It is the mind struggling with its own fears. But when the consciousness is calmed and God's presence and power are affirmed, the first step toward true freedom has already been taken. Imagine entering a dark room. You do not shout for the light to appear. You simply find the switch and turn it on. So acts affirmative prayer. It does not beg, plead, or argue. It simply affirms with simplicity and certainty what is true in God. Do you want peace? First acknowledge that God is peace. And do you seek guidance? First acknowledge that God is infinite and perfect intelligence. This first step, recognition, is the root of all effective treatment. The second phase is union. Here the soul stops feeling separate, stops seeing itself as a beggar before the altar, and recognizes, I am one with God. The principle of all good acts in me and through me as me. Here lies the great secret. Everything that is true in God is essentially true in your being. The kingdom of God is within you, said Jesus. When you unite mentally with the source, you stop struggling and enter the flow of good. The third phase is specific affirmation. This is the moment to declare, in present tense and simple language, what you wish to see manifested, not as an anxious desire, but as a truth that already exists on the spiritual plane. Many fail here because they get entangled in doubt, or affirm with the lips, but deny in feeling. Remember, power lies in conviction, not repetition. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Mark 11:24. It does not say you will receive it someday, but you have it now. This is the key. The mind must accept the divine idea as real, even if the senses have not yet observed it. If you can imagine health, peace, guidance as states already present, you have opened the door to their manifestation. The fourth phase is gratitude. To give thanks is an act of faith. It is to thank before seeing the harvest, knowing the law is infallible. Gratitude affirms trust in the fulfillment of the word. It releases anxiety and celebrates victory, even if sensory evidence has not yet confirmed it. Sincere gratitude closes the circuit of prayer and seals it in the subconscious. Give thanks in the silence of your soul and watch the atmosphere of your life fill with a new light. Finally, the fifth phase is release. Here the mind stops insisting, stops anxiously examining the ground, and enters rest. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Release does not mean disinterest, it means absolute trust. Just as the farmer, after sowing a seed, does not unearth it each day to see if it sprouts, but covers it and waits with faith, so you, after affirming the truth and giving thanks, must leave the result in the hands of the law. Nothing can frustrate a prayer made in faith except the habit of returning to fear or doubt. Whenever restlessness returns, gently repeat, God is acting. All is in divine order. Return to your peace. I always teach that scientific prayer does not fight appearances. Do not battle against evil. To deny appearance is not to resist it. It is simply to stop feeding it with your attention. If worry arises, apply the golden key. Instead of thinking about the problem, think of God. Turn your mind repeatedly toward good. Just as one turns the face to the sun, you allow the light to dispel the shadow. You do not need to force the sun to rise. You only need to open the window. This is how prayer works. Let me illustrate with a real-life example. A woman came to me distressed over a rebellious son. She had tried everything: pleading, reproaches, warnings. Nothing changed. I suggested scientific prayer. I taught her to stop seeing the child's error and to affirm silently, "The wisdom of God directs and protects my son now. The Christ in him awakens and guides his steps. Thank you, Father, for it is already so." At first her mind returned to fear, but she persisted in practice. Within a few weeks, her son began showing small changes. Within months, their relationship had healed. It was not magic. It was law in action, the consciousness of good replacing the image of evil. The structure of affirmative prayer is simple and adaptable. It can last a minute or 20, depending on your inner state, but it must always be clear, present tense, your own words, without unnecessary embellishment. The tone is calm certainty, not anxiety or demand. If fear arises at the start, do not fight it. Simply acknowledge, "Although I feel fear, I know the presence of God is here. I know wisdom guides me. The fear will yield to the light of truth." Here is a general model you can adapt to any need. Recognition, Father. I acknowledge that you are absolute good, infinite intelligence, unfailing love. You are the only cause, the only presence, the only power. Union, I know I am one with you. Your life is my life. Your peace is my peace. I am not separate from you. Specific affirmation. Now I affirm that wisdom guides me. I see clearly the path to follow. My mind is at peace. All is in divine order in this situation. Gratitude, thank you, Father, for I know it is already done. I receive your perfect response with joy. Release, I now release this prayer, fully trusting that the law fulfills it. I remain in peace and continue my day. Do this each morning or whenever a concern arises. It is not necessary to repeat it endlessly. A prayer made in faith is sufficient, but if the mind returns to worry, simply repeat the treatment, not as pleading, but as remembering the truth. When facing an important decision, you can use this treatment. Father, I know there is only one power and one wisdom, and that wisdom guides me now. I lay aside all confusion and doubt. I open myself to perfect direction. The path is revealed before me with clarity and peace. Thank you, God, for it is so. To find peace amid conflict, recognize that God's peace dwells in your heart. Nothing external can disturb the inner stillness of the spirit. I am peace. I radiate peace. I give thanks for this peace that sustains me. For mental clarity, there is only one mind, the mind of God. That mind thinks in me as I do. All thoughts of confusion dissolve now. The light of understanding shines in my mind. I know what I must do, and I do it with joy. Thank you, Father. If doubts persist, what to do with the insistence of the lower mind returning to fear? Apply the golden key as taught. Stop thinking about the problem and think of God. Do not mentally argue with error. Do not attempt to defeat it on its own field. Turn your back on the shadow and look to the light. Repeat inwardly all you know about God. God is life. God is wisdom. God is power. God is here. God guides me. God acts now. Repeat as often as necessary until the unease dissolves and a sense of peace envelops you. This is the sign that the treatment has been accepted in the subconscious and the law is at work. Remember Jesus' words, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Prayer is accepting in the mind the invisible reality of good before it is seen. It is sowing in secret and trusting the harvest. The result always follows the mental cause. Do not be impatient if the fruit takes time. The law never fails. Close this chapter with a brief exercise. Find a quiet place. Breathe deeply. Recognize God's presence around and within you. Feel union with the source. Affirm quietly or mentally what you wish to see realized. Give thanks calmly and release the result. Remain in silence for a few minutes without forcing anything. Notice the peace that arises, even if external circumstances have not yet changed. This peace is the sign of good on its way. Make scientific prayer your daily habit, your safe refuge, your laboratory of miracles. In time, you will discover that no situation is too small or too large to be transformed by the power of thought affirmed in God. Let your prayer always be a bridge, not between man and a distant God, but between your mind and the eternal truth that dwells within you. Step by step, you will learn that to pray is to create, to pray is to release, to pray is to rest in the certainty that good manifests here and now by law. Whatever you ask in prayer, believe you have already received it and it will be yours. Do it thus and see your world day by day become clearer, more harmonious, and filled with the transforming presence of God. Chapter 3. Intelligent surrender of the self, letting go of control and releasing the burden. There comes a moment on every spiritual path when the soul recognizes that the weight of life is too heavy to carry alone. The intellect has done what it can, personal will has pushed, resisted, and struggled, yet results are often uncertain and fatigue accumulates. Here arises the essential question: must we carry every burden? Is there not a higher way to resolve, to advance, to live? The answer is yes, and that way is intelligent surrender, the conscious offering of the self to the wisdom and power of the inner Christ. It is not escape, resignation, or passivity disguised as virtue. It is the highest expression of wisdom and self-mastery. Let us begin with the words of the Master. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:28 and 30. What is Jesus inviting us to here? Not a life without challenges, but a way of living differently, to exchange the yoke of anxious effort for the gentle yoke of trust, to release ego control and allow the inner Christ to guide and resolve. You may ask, how can one let go of control without becoming passive or irresponsible? Here lies the difference between intelligent surrender and passivity. The ego fears letting go because it believes chaos will reign, but experience reveals the opposite. When tension is released, the mind clears and deep wisdom begins to act. You do not abandon your duties. You approach them from a center of peace with clarity and efficiency, no longer from anxiety or worry. Letting go of the burden is both a spiritual and mental art. It consists of recognizing from the heart that there exists within you a power greater than your personality, the inner Christ, the divine spark, the wisdom that never fails. You do not need to solve everything with your limited mind. Within you is a source that knows the way, sees the solution, and provides the proper resolution for every situation. But that power can act only when you make space for it, withdraw mentally, and release the burden. I suggest a simple procedure you can apply to any problem: work, health, family, or other. Recognize the tension, stop. Observe the weight you feel, worry, fear, confusion. Do not reject it, but do not feed it either. Breathe deeply. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. As you inhale, imagine receiving peace and strength from the Spirit. As you exhale, feel yourself releasing all tension and control. Affirm with faith. Say quietly or mentally, I release this burden to the inner Christ. I let go. God acts now. Repeat until you feel relief, even if slight. Remain in expectant peace. Do not seek immediate resolution. Rest in the conviction that the higher power is acting, even if the manifestation is not yet visible. Take the next simple step. If a calm idea or prudent action arises, follow it. If not, wait in serenity without forcing. Clear direction comes in the silence of the mind. The art of letting go and allowing God to act does not mean crossing your arms or avoiding responsibility. On the contrary, when you release control, solutions emerge naturally. Resources, help, opportunities, and insights become visible that were hidden under tension. The mind freed from anxiety is a channel for the spirit. A mind locked in control channels only confusion. Consider a man facing a difficult work decision. He sees no way out, feels overwhelmed, and fears making a mistake. After days of sleeplessness, he decides to apply this method. He breathes, recognizes the divine presence, affirms, I release, God acts. At first, the mind resists and wants to return to problem solving, but with perseverance, he maintains the practice. Gradually, relief comes. The next day, an unexpected opportunity arises or a creative solution appears. The decision clarifies effortlessly. It was not passivity, it was intelligent cooperation with a higher law. In health, this practice is equally powerful. Many carry the weight of a diagnosis or fear for the future as if healing depended solely on their strength. But life is greater than any physical condition. By recognizing the healing presence and letting go of fear, I release this situation to God. The body and mind relax, and the healing process finds an open channel. Remarkably, many recoveries begin the moment the soul stops resisting and accepts peace even for an instant. In family conflicts, the principle is the same. The ego wants to control, convince, manipulate, but only achieves more tension and distance. When one member mentally withdraws from the drama and releases the burden, I release. God acts, the atmosphere shifts, and reconciliation or solution often arises unexpectedly. Psalm 55:22 expresses it clearly. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken. This is not poetry, it is spiritual law in action. The mind that releases the burden rises, the mind that retains it stagnates. Whenever you feel the weight of worry, pause, breathe. Remember, you are not walking alone. The inner Christ knows the way. Release the burden and remain in expectant peace. How can you know you are progressing in this art? There are unmistakable signs. First, growing peace, even if external circumstances remain unchanged. A subtle well-being begins to settle in the heart. Second, clear direction. Ideas, inspirations, and simple solutions emerge from inner silence. Third, concrete steps that can be taken without anxiety or hurry. Life becomes simpler, less dense, more fluid. Not necessarily easier externally, but infinitely lighter in the soul. Do not be discouraged if the mind rebels, wanting to regain control again and again. It is natural. Persevere. Each release, even for a few seconds, plants a seed of freedom. Gradually, the mind adapts to trust, and the habit of surrender becomes natural. Before closing this chapter, let us practice breathing and affirmation together. Stop where you are. Close your eyes if possible. Inhale deeply, feeling God's life filling you. Exhale gently, releasing all tension. Repeat silently, I release. God acts now. Inhale peace, exhale control. I release. God acts now. Feel the relief. Remain for a few moments in silence. When the mind wants to worry, return to this simple practice. You do not have to carry more. You do not have to resolve alone. The power of God is here, ready to act on everything you release in faith. To release the burden is not to lose power. It is to access the only real power. Walk today with the lightness of one who has set aside the useless weight, advancing step by step, guided by the peace and wisdom of the inner Christ. Let your life be a living prayer of intelligent surrender, and each day you can joyfully say, I release, God acts, all is well. Chapter 4, Mental Equivalence, Imagining in God to Allow the Good. Everything that exists in your visible life was first an invisible image in the mind. This is the great law that operates silently and constantly in every human experience. You can only receive in the external world what you have first accepted, felt, and sustained in your internal world. Here lies one of the deepest secrets of spiritual mastery. The common error is trying to change external reality without modifying the mental pattern that creates it. Thus, most people tire themselves struggling with effects, but few understand that real power resides in the invisible model that supports every manifestation. What is a mental equivalent? It is the inner pattern, the living and felt image, the mental and emotional mold that determines what you can experience in any aspect of life. If you desire peace, health, prosperity, or harmonious relationships, you must first construct the mental equivalent of these goods. If you do not, you may pray, work, and strive, but the law cannot be bypassed. You will receive only what you have essentially accepted as possible and natural in your consciousness. The external always follows the internal, never the reverse. Many pray for prosperity, yet their inner image is one of lack. Others seek health, but see themselves as weak or fearful. Some long for love, yet harbor doubts, resentments, or images of loneliness. The result cannot differ from the seed planted. Therefore, true prayer is not merely asking or affirming. It is changing the inner image, the pattern that sustains and attracts the experience you desire. How is a mental equivalent aligned with the good constructed? Above all, through the deliberate selection of images, thoughts, and feelings you accept and sustain. The Bible gives a perfect rule of mental hygiene. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is anything worthy of praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. This verse is not pious advice. It is a precise instruction on how to shape the mind so that it receives and multiplies only images of good. What you contemplate mentally, you accept. What you accept, you feel. What you feel, you attract or allow into your world. Suppose you desire prosperity. It is not enough to affirm beautiful phrases or repeat decrees. You must see in your imagination, clearly and joyfully, the state of prosperity already realized. Feel in your heart the security, freedom, and joy that this state entails. Imagine living calmly, paying your bills with ease, giving and receiving in a natural flow of abundance. Do this without tension, greed, or anxiety. Allow the image to become as natural to you as the old image of lack once was. Repeat mentally, God is my source. Abundance flows to me with ease. I accept it. I am grateful. I share it. Similarly, if you seek health, build in your mind the image of yourself as strong, serene, and full of energy. Do not mentally review symptoms, diagnoses, or fears. Visualize yourself performing activities with vitality, feeling well in every cell. Affirm, the life of God renews every part of my being. I am health, I am strength, I am harmony. Feel the truth of these words, even if the mind doubts at first. Do not fight the old image. Replace it as one opens a window to let in light without struggling with the darkness. In relationships, the principle is the same. Do you desire love, peace, understanding? Create in your mind the equivalent. Imagine scenes of harmony, kind conversations, sincere interactions. If someone causes you conflict, see not the error but the possibility of good. Affirm, I see the Christ in you. I bless our encounter. I am grateful for the harmony that already exists on the spiritual plane. This is not self-deception. It is clearing the mental field so that only constructive images have power in your world. You may doubt, can a simple change in mental image really transform real life? Not only can it is the only way lasting transformation occurs. Let me share a true story. A man, after years of failure and scarcity, decided to practice this method. Each morning, before beginning his day, he spent a few minutes imagining himself living with dignity, paying his bills, helping others, feeling gratitude. At first, the mind protested, reminding him of the past. Yet he persisted, clearing his mind of doubts and returning to the new image. After a few weeks, small opportunities began to appear. A debt was cancelled, a better job was offered, and his confidence grew. It was not magic, it was law. By changing the internal pattern, the external world began to reflect it. Ephesians 3:20 tells us, Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Notice the phrase, according to the power that works in us. God the good is not limited, but can only act through the channel of your consciousness. If the channel is narrow, the blessing flows in limited measure. If the channel is clean and wide, manifestation is abundant. Therefore, expanding your mental equivalent is widening the pathway through which good may manifest. The practice is simple but requires consistency. I propose an exercise for designing a mental equivalent for any good you wish to manifest. Take paper and pencil and silently, sincerely answer these questions. What exactly do I desire? Be precise. Do not say, I want to be happy, but rather, I want to feel peace in my home, or I want a job where I can serve and prosper. Why do I desire it? Connect the desire to the greater good, not out of whim, but because it serves your growth, peace, and capacity to serve others. How does it feel to already have it realized? Imagine fully the emotion of your desire fulfilled. Feel free, secure, grateful, inspired. Allow this feeling to flood you for a few minutes. How can this good serve others, not just me? Imagine the blessing expanding. Your peace radiates to your family. Your prosperity enables helping others. Your health inspires those around you. Write these answers in the present tense as if they are already real. Read them daily, especially upon waking and before sleeping. Do it with conviction, without hurry. If a negative image arises, do not fight it. Return gently and firmly to the image of good. This practice gradually cleanses the subconscious, creating a new groove through which the law can operate unobstructed. The mind may become impatient, seeking immediate results. Remember, just as a seed takes time to germinate, so the mental equivalent requires care and persistence. Do not be discouraged if external change is delayed. All is working invisibly. Persist. If your inner image is firm, the result is inevitable. Also, maintain mental hygiene throughout the day. If you catch yourself feeding thoughts of doubt, complaint, fear, or resentment, pause and recall the discipline of Philippians 4:8. Gently return your attention to all that is true, just, and pure. If you stumble, do not blame yourself. Simply resume the practice. Over time, your mind becomes a garden where only flowers of good grow, and the weeds of worry or judgment lose their power. To close this chapter, engrave this truth in your heart. Every good you desire already exists on the spiritual plane. You only need the mental equivalent to allow it to manifest. Nothing separates you from the good except the image you hold within. You do not need to beg the universe. You only need to align your thought and feeling with what you wish to receive. Make your life a work of mental art. Imagine in God, feel in God, speak in God, live in God, and you will see the promise fulfilled. He who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Thus the good becomes flesh in your world, and your mind finally opens as the gateway to all perfect manifestation. Chapter 5. Purity of heart, forgiveness, judgment, and seeing the good in others. There is an ancient promise inscribed in the very heart of the Sermon on the Mount, which holds the key to all true spiritual transformation. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. This statement is neither metaphor nor mere poetic consolation. It is a law as precise as the law of gravity. Where there is purity of heart, vision becomes clear, judgment softens, peace takes root, and the will of good can flow without obstruction. Why? Because a pure heart is one that has released resentment, guilt, and the habit of judgment, and has trained itself to see the good where previously only error was perceived. Purity of heart does not mean childlike innocence or unreachable perfection. It is not about never having made mistakes or never having felt anger, envy, or resentment. Purity of heart is the daily, conscious practice of clearing the inner field of every thought, image, and emotion that blocks the perception of good in oneself and in others. It is the discipline of looking beyond appearance, beyond wounds, beyond error, and affirming, though it may be difficult, that at the core of every human being resides the Christ, the divine spark, waiting to be recognized and released. Let me say it clearly. If you want God's will to guide you, you must release the ballast of resentment, criticism, and accumulated guilt. Resentment, even if justified by human reasons, is a mental shadow that obstructs clarity and the reception of new insights. When you judge another or condemn yourself, you build walls that separate you from the current of grace. When you forgive, those walls fall and the light enters. Forgiveness is the supreme tool of mental and emotional hygiene. It is not weakness, nor forgetting the error. It is strength because it cleanses your inner vessel and leaves it ready to receive guidance, peace, and the good you seek. Many confuse forgiveness with approving wrongdoing, others with the need for immediate external reconciliation. But at its root, forgiveness is a mental act, declaring in the privacy of your soul, I will not allow this error, mine or another's, to occupy more space in my mind. I release, I bless, I liberate. In this way, the energy tied to the past is freed, and the present regains its liberty. The mind and heart recover their function, to be channels of good, not prisons of old stories. Remember the parable of the unmerciful servant? The servant to whom his master forgave a great debt, yet refused to forgive a smaller debt owed to him by another. Matthew 18:21-35. When the heart closes to forgiveness, it traps itself in a cycle of pain and judgment. But when it opens, the flow of grace is restored, and life begins to order itself. Forgive, and you will be forgiven, is not a threat. It is a reminder of the mental law. You receive in your world the quality you sustain in your heart toward others. How to practice forgiveness and purity of heart in daily life. Forgiveness treatment. Choose a quiet moment each day. Recall mentally the people, situations, or errors that still weigh on you. Do not relive the pain. Observe it with serenity. Affirm aloud or silently. I forgive, I release, I bless. Nothing or no one can separate me from God's love. I release and am released. Good works now in me and in others. Do this without hurry, repeating until you feel a slight relief. Do not expect a grand emotion. Forgiveness often begins as a sigh, a small space of lightness in the chest. Bless difficult people. When someone irritates, judges, or offends you, do not enter the cycle of mental gossip or automatic reaction. Pause in the silence of your mind. Say, I bless you, I see the Christ in you. I wish you peace and good. You do not need to speak aloud nor seek immediate reconciliation. The important thing is to shift your inner vibration, because this stops feeding conflict and allows the law of good to act. Renounce mental gossip. The undisciplined mind stirs old grievances, repeats conversations, fantasizes responses that will never occur. Whenever you find yourself caught in this cycle, say, I choose to release, I choose peace. I do not feed thoughts of judgment or resentment. My mind is a clean channel of good. Conscious renunciation of mental gossip is one of the most powerful acts of inner purification. The result? Emotional lightness, clarity of vision, a sense of peace, even amid challenges. When the heart is cleansed of resentment, the guidance of divine will becomes perceptible. Ideas, inspirations, and new paths arise where previously only dead ends appeared. Relationships improve, conflicts resolve or lose significance, and life becomes simpler, less dense. Do not worry if at first it is difficult, if old wounds seem resistant. Purity of heart is a practice, not an instant event. Each day, each attempt is a step toward freedom. Sometimes forgiveness must be repeated many times, other times a firm decision is enough. What matters is the intention, to cleanse the vessel, not to allow bitterness, guilt, or judgment to dominate. When this occurs, the soul sees more clearly, feels more deeply, walks more lightly. Remember always the words of Jesus. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This is not a distant promise, it is an experience possible here and now. The vision of God in your life, in others, in every circumstance arises when you release the weight of grievances and choose to see behind the mask the divine spark in every being. Practice exercise. Close your eyes. Think of someone who challenges you. Observe what arises, emotion, thought, memory. Then affirm, without forcing, I bless you, I see the good in you. I release all judgment, I open myself to peace. Repeat several times. Notice if any lightness or calm arises. This is the sign that your inner work is beginning to bear fruit. Make purity of heart your daily discipline. Forgive, release, bless. Do it even if you do not feel desire, even if the mind resists. Each act of inner cleansing is a door you open to guidance, peace, and blessing. And when in doubt, remember, I choose to see the good in all and in everyone. My heart is pure, my vision is clear. God's love guides my steps here and now. Thus the weight of the past yields, the future is illuminated, and your path becomes light and secure, because you no longer see shadows but the living presence of good in every face and every moment of your life. Chapter 6. Do not resist evil, transmute, don't fight. One of the most puzzling and at the same time most powerful precepts of Master Jesus is the invitation not to resist evil. Matthew 5:39. At first the conditioned mind reacts, not resist evil. Shouldn't we fight injustice, confront error, protect ourselves from harm? But the words of the Christ are not addressed to the external plane of superficial action. They speak to the heart of the creative process, the mind. Here lies the key. To resist evil at its deepest root is to keep alive in consciousness the very image of evil, struggling with it, energizing it, feeding the monster we claim to hate. It is, in truth, perpetuating the shadow by failing to understand its illusory nature. What does this mean in daily life? When something offends, contradicts, or threatens us, the habitual reaction is to fight, argue, complain, attack, or defend, mentally and emotionally. But this combat does not dissolve the problem. It reinforces it. A mind entangled in offense, fear, criticism, or resentment creates invisible ties that bind it to error. Attention is nourishment. What you resist persists. If you fight the shadow, you only gain fatigue and more shadow. Metaphysical non-resistance is not passivity nor complicity. It is not accepting abuse or letting evil act unchecked. It is much deeper. The art of disarming the emotional charge that sustains the appearance of evil, then affirming the good and allowing the correct, inspired and prudent action to emerge, untainted by fear or hatred. Non-resistance is the great secret of transmutation. It converts the energy of combat into creative energy. How is this achieved? Step 1. Stop feeding the mental image of evil. Each time the mind returns to offense, the problem or injustice, pause. Do not follow the impulse to relive, analyze, or argue. Silently affirm, God is the only presence and the only power here. This affirmation is not avoidance. It is a reminder of essential truth. Where there seems to be shadow, the light of God is present, waiting to be recognized and affirmed. When you cease mental struggle, evil loses strength in your consciousness and begins to fade from your experience. Step 2. Neutralize the emotional charge. Evil only has power insofar as you charge it with emotion, fear, anger, pain, indignation, which anchor it in your inner field. Practice conscious breathing. When the emotion arises, pause. Breathe deeply and exhale slowly, imagining that you release all tension and automatic reaction. You may affirm, I release all power to the good. With practice, the intensity of the emotion decreases, and with it, the problem loses reality. Step 3. Fill the space with good, and it is not enough to deny error. You must occupy the empty space with an idea of good, truth, justice, or peace. If the conflict is at work, visualize harmony, cooperation, and a fair solution. If the evil is a hurtful comment, affirm, nothing external can disturb my peace. God's good protects and guides me. If the difficulty is financial, say, divine abundance flows to me. I am one with provision. Conscious affirmation is the tool that reorders the mental field and opens the door to correct action. Step 4. Act with prudence, not reaction. Inspired action does not arise from anxiety or desire for revenge, but from inner peace. Often, when the mind quiets and releases resistance, the precise idea arises. A sincere conversation, a creative solution, a calm step. Other times, the best action is no action, letting the situation dissolve naturally. The difference is in the inner state. When you act from peace, all outcomes improve. Example: a person experiences constant tension at work, a hostile colleague or unfair competition. The first instinct is to fight, justify, defend, accuse. But after several failed attempts, the person applies the principle of non-resistance. Each time the mind dwells on the colleague, instead of fueling anger, it affirms, God is the only presence and the only power here. I bless this situation. Good is revealed. Soon the person notices a shift. Their own mood changes. The relationship softens. Opportunities for dialogue arise, and the atmosphere transforms. There was no submission, there was transmutation. In business, I have seen entrepreneurs overcome financial obstacles, not by fighting competition or lamenting misfortune, but by releasing fear and affirming, divine wisdom guides every step. All that occurs leads to good. I am protected and directed by God's love. Thus the mind clears and solutions emerge. Romans 12:21 summarizes it beautifully. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. To overcome with good is not to deny that apparent evil exists, but to remove its root in consciousness and plant in its place the seed of a higher idea. Suggested daily practice of detachment. Keep a small journal. Each time you notice yourself resisting, arguing, or mentally fighting with a problem, person, or situation, record it. Do not judge. Just observe and write. Next to it, write a brief neutralizing affirmation. For example, God is the only presence and power here. Nothing can disturb my peace. Good prevails. I release and allow divine order to manifest. Practice this for a week. You will notice the emotional charge decreasing, the mind clarifying, and difficult situations gradually resolving, sometimes in surprising ways. You will discover that the real battle was not with the world, but with the internal image of evil. When you cease to resist, you make space for the spirit to act. Do not be discouraged if at first the automatic reaction is strong. It is an old habit. With each act of releasing and affirming good, the habit weakens and the soul learns a higher way of living. Always remember, good is more powerful than error because it is real. Evil is appearance, a shadow without substance. Do not resist it. Do not feed it. do not fear it. Affirm the presence and power of God where before there was only a problem, and you will see the situation transform from within outward. Make your life a laboratory of active non-resistance. Witness the law. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Each day, release inner combat, affirm good, and let peace be the arbiter of your thoughts, words, and actions. Thus you will learn to transmute, not fight, and life will become lighter, relationships simpler, and good will gradually reveal itself as the only possible reality. Chapter 7. Discernment of the will, peace, signs, and guided decisions. Discernment of God's will is not an art reserved for saints or visionaries. It is the daily task of every soul seeking to live aligned with the good. Asking, "What does God want for me?" is both the most practical and the highest question, for the answer shapes the direction of our life, the charity of our day, and the depth of our peace. Unlike human advice, always partial and conditioned, guidance from the Spirit is clear, simple, and infallible in its essence. It only requires learning to listen truly. A common error is assuming that God's will is revealed through extraordinary phenomena, audible voices, spectacular dreams, or forced external signs. Scripture and experience teach us that true guidance is subtle, gentle, and sure, like a breeze that does not impose itself but directs. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which you were also called. Colossians 3:15. Here is the first rule of discernment. Inner peace is the infallible arbiter. Wherever there is peace, the will of the good is at work. Where there is turmoil, confusion, or anxiety, it is wise to wait and pray. But not just any superficial peace, this is a deep peace, capable of coexisting with external challenges, yet unshaken by them. It signals that the action, decision, or path is in harmony with principle. Sometimes an idea seems logical and promising, yet the soul feels unrest when considering it. Other times the mind hesitates, but a serene inner stillness confirms the step is correct. This is the great gift of the Spirit. Peace as the guide. To discern God's will in concrete matters, a simple and proven method is essential. I propose 3 practical steps that you can apply to every situation, from the simplest to the most complex. Step 1. Sincere prayer. Present your situation to God without mask or pretense. Humbly express the dilemma, acknowledging that your knowledge is limited, but infinite wisdom dwells within and guides you. Do not ask only for a specific answer. Ask above all for the awareness of peace and clarity to recognize the correct direction. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5, 6. Step 2. Attentive silence. After prayer, quiet the mind, silence the noise of arguments, release the rush for immediate resolution. Remain still for a few minutes without forcing a response. The Spirit's voice is like a gentle breeze, perceived only in silence. It is in this silence that intuitions emerge, sometimes a sudden idea, a sense of relief, an image, or a simple phrase. Do not disregard the whisper waiting for a thunderclap. Learn to recognize the charity of impressions. If they bring peace, certainty, and coherence with the good, there lies the sign. Step 3. Obedient step, even if small. Do not wait to see the entire path before moving. The law reveals the next step, not the complete route. Take the step that inner peace and intuition suggest, even if it seems small or insignificant. If after taking it peace increases, you are on the path. If unrest arises, reevaluate, pray again, adjust your direction. Guidance thus becomes dynamic, real, and lived in everyday life. Coherence with spiritual principles is the framework of all true guidance. God does not contradict His law. He cannot guide you to act from fear, resentment, greed, or violence. If inspiration leads you to harm, divide, or compromise integrity, discard it. The Spirit always guides toward the greater good, for you and for others. Coherence is the hallmark. Authentic inspiration uplifts, builds, pacifies, and confirms direction, observing doors that open without force. When a choice aligns with God's will, external circumstances organize, opportunities appear, support emerges, and obstacles yield naturally. This does not mean the absence of challenges, but the absence of forced struggle. Good opens the way for good. If you insist on a closed door, forcing relationships, projects, or paths that do not flow, pause. Life may be indicating a higher course. The practice of discernment is strengthened by keeping a record of intuitions and their verification. Keep a notebook. Record your doubts, the impressions arising in prayer and silence, the decisions taken, and the results. Observe patterns. What sensations precede correct decisions? How does true peace feel compared to the false relief of avoiding a challenge? Over time, your inner hearing sharpens, your confidence grows, and your ability to respond quickly and accurately is strengthened. Example: consider someone facing two job opportunities. Both seem good. The mind vacillates, pros and cons balanced. Now, sincerely present your desire to serve, grow, and express good. Silence the mind and notice which option brings a broader, lighter, more hopeful feeling. One may awaken fear, but also excitement and expansion. There usually lies the call. Take the step, gather information, converse as needed, and observe whether peace grows or diminishes. If insurmountable obstacles arise, re-evaluate and trust. The Spirit guides, and where it guides, it provides the path. In complex moral decisions where values, relationships, and duties intertwine, inner peace is even more essential. Here, there are no universal recipes, only the certainty that love always guides through honesty, compassion, and coherence. If an option implies concealment, duplicity, or inner compromise, discard it, even if the world applauds. If another, though difficult, brings deep and silent peace, trust it. God does not abandon those who choose good, even if the apparent cost is high. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. As you learn to discern God's will, life becomes simpler, less dramatic. Decision-making ceases to be a battlefield and becomes an inner dialogue of trust. You learn to respond quickly to guidance without doubt or delay because you recognize its unmistakable signature. Peace. Close this chapter with a practical prayer. Father, I acknowledge that my knowledge is limited, but you see the complete path. I surrender this decision to you. Make me sensitive to your way. Let peace be my arbiter. Let coherence with good guide me. Let humility open my ears to your voice. Show me the next step and give me courage to take it with joy. I trust that, guided by you, only good can occur. Make this method your habit. Pray, silence, act with faith, record, verify, learn from each experience. Soon, your life will testify to the promise, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." Thus the will of God is revealed, and thus we respond with trust and joy to the call of good. Chapter 8. Health under the will of God, treatment for the body. The body is the visible stage where the mind performs its work. Every cell, organ, and function responds to the internal atmosphere of thought and feeling that we often sustain without realizing it. This truth, ignored by dogma and feared by rigid belief, is the cornerstone of all true healing. The body sooner or later manifests the quality of the mental and spiritual content we harbor. When the mind is filled with truth, life, and trust in the good, the body responds with health, vitality, and harmony. This is God's will for you, not disease but wholeness, not fatigue but strength, not weariness but renewal. Some believe that speaking of spiritual health denies medicine or rejects science. Nothing could be further from the truth. The principle is one. Life flows through all channels. Just as God inspires the physician, sustains the nurse, and guides the surgeon's hand, he also dwells and works in the thought that affirms health. There is no competition, only collaboration. No conflict, only integration. It is wise to receive medical help when needed, and it is even wiser to combine any treatment with the inner practice of filling the mind with ideas of life. How can the body respond to truth? How can you cooperate with the good through a simple and concrete discipline? Here is a protocol inspired by my experience and the teachings of the Master. First, recognize that the body is neither enemy nor master. It is the instrument, the temple, the vehicle of divine life. As such, it deserves respect, care, and love, not judgment or condemnation. The common error is to fight the body, reject it, and burden it with fear and guilt. The body only asks one thing, that the mind send messages of faith, gratitude, and life. Second, understand that every symptom is an appearance. It may have physical, hereditary, or accidental causes, but at a deeper level, It is a crystallization of mental and emotional states. Do not fight the symptom. Recognize it as a sign, but not as a sentence. Declare within yourself, "This symptom is only an appearance. The truth of my being is life, health, and wholeness." Third, establish a simple daily spiritual treatment routine, 7 minutes in the morning, 7 minutes at night. This time is enough to re-educate the mind and open the channel of healing. Practice regularly without expecting instant miracles, but with certainty that every seed of truth planted in the mind will bloom in the body. A model routine you can adapt. Gratitude for the body. Upon waking, before getting up, direct your thought to each part of your body. Give thanks silently or aloud for every organ and system. Thank you, Father, for my lungs that breathe life. Thank you for my heart that beats in divine order. Thank you for my stomach that digests with intelligence. Thank you for my eyes, hands, and feet. I bless every cell, every function, every system of my body. I declare that my whole being is filled with life. Gratitude elevates the vibration, dissolves resentment, and opens the door to restoration. Denial of symptoms as appearances. When pain, discomfort, or adverse medical news arises, do not panic or immerse in fear. Pause, breathe deeply, and affirm, "This has no power over me. It is only an appearance. God's truth in me is health, harmony, and perfection." Recognize its existence, but do not give it ultimate reality. Affirmations of life. After denying power to the appearance, affirm firmly and calmly, "God's life renews every cell of my body. I am now health, strength, vitality. Every organ functions in perfect harmony with the law of good." Visualize a golden or white light flowing through your body from crown to feet. Feel it cleanse, repair, strengthen. Let the image become vivid and real. Visualization of light. Imagine each organ bathed in this light, functioning in perfect coordination. If a specific area is unwell, focus the visualization there with tenderness, as one would apply balm to a wound, without anxiety or fear. Only light, only life. Collaboration with medical care. Receive external help as a channel of good. Bless doctors, treatments, and medications. Affirm, "God acts through this channel. Only good can come to me." Do not enter into conflict or rejection through fear. What matters is the spirit with which you receive assistance. Brief Psalm 103 prayer. At the end of your routine, repeat with faith, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. He forgives all my iniquities, heals all my diseases, satisfies my mouth with good, so that I may be renewed like the eagle." Feel the strength of these words. Let them penetrate your interior. Evening routine. Before sleeping, review the day with gratitude. If there were discomforts, repeat denial and affirmation. Visualize the light enveloping your entire being as you rest. Entrust yourself to the ever-awake healing presence. Do not become impatient if the process is gradual. The mind and body respond to the rhythm of the soul. There will be days of progress and days of trial. Do not be discouraged. Remember Jesus' accounts of healing? He never asked about the severity of the case, never accepted the reality of evil. He only saw good, faith, life, and thus performed wonders. That same power lives in you. If worries persist, write a brief letter to your own body. Ask forgiveness for judging it, fearing it, or burdening it with negative thoughts. Declare your intention to collaborate with it, to love it, to see it as the instrument of life. The result of this discipline is not only physical restoration, but above all, a new relationship with your own being, an inner peace that sustains the process and gives it meaning. Health under God's will is wholeness, not external perfection. It is inner vitality, joy of living, gratitude for every breath and every movement. Make your health routine a prayer. The life of God fills me. Every cell responds to truth. My body is the temple of the Spirit. I am health. I am strength. I am life. Thus, day by day, the will of good becomes flesh in you, and your life bears living witness to the promise. He heals all your diseases and satisfies your mouth with good, so that you may be renewed like the eagle. Chapter 9. Prosperity and circulation, the law of giving and receiving. The universe, in its deepest essence, is living circulation. Nothing remains static, nothing is kept for itself. Observe the sap in the trees, the water in the rivers, the blood in the veins, the air in the lungs. Everything moves, everything flows, everything gives and receives without end. Prosperity works in the same way. It is not rigid accumulation or fearful waiting, but an orderly, generous, and sufficient circulation of good in all its forms. God's will is prosperity, and that prosperity manifests as constant circulation, as order, as sufficiency for every need here and now. Many fear speaking of money or material resources in spiritual terms. Some feel guilt in desiring prosperity. Others associate money with greed, conflict, or sin. Yet prosperity, in its root, is an expression of God's abundant life. It is not an end in itself, but the natural result of thought aligned with the law of good. Scarcity, debt, or fear of the future are not virtues. They are symptoms of a mental error that can and must be corrected. True stewardship is to recognize that all good comes from God, and that we are here to manage, circulate, and multiply what we receive, serving with intelligence and love. Jesus was clear. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Luke 6:38. Here is the law of circulation. What you give returns to you multiplied. What you hoard in fear stagnates and eventually fades. It is not magic. It is a natural law, as precise as gravity. The first step to living in prosperity is to clear the mind of every trace of guilt and fear associated with money or material well-being. Do not fear prospering. Do not fear receiving. God's good is inexhaustible and wants to express itself through you. Scarcity, lack, or necessary sacrifice do not glorify God nor serve humanity. Everything that contributes to your development, peace, service, growth, and the good of others is divine will for you. If money were evil, the universe would be poor, but life never exhausts itself, nor does it hoard. Transform your thoughts of possession and struggle into thoughts of stewardship. You are the manager of what you receive. You are not the absolute owner nor a beggar or slave of money. Money is a symbol, a tool, an energy to be circulated for good. Give thanks for every income, every expense, every opportunity to serve or exchange. Bless everything that passes through your hands, knowing there is no real loss in the channel of good. When giving, be grateful. When receiving, be grateful. This habit transforms your relationship with material things. The principle of intelligent giving is fundamental. It is not about distributing blindly or hoarding greedily, but giving where you can do the most good, where your spiritual and material seed can multiply and serve others. Give with joy, awareness, and gratitude, without expecting immediate reward or recognition. Everything you give returns to you as ideas, opportunities, help, or unexpected resources. Good given is never lost. Excellence in service is another law of prosperity. Do your work well. Give your best in every task. Honor your commitments. Be punctual and honest in business. True prosperity is linked to the quality and real value you offer. Do not fear improving, learning, or investing in your development. Life will then open paths of lasting abundance, not temporary fortune. Bless your income and expenses. Each time you receive money, say, I bless this income, the fruit of God's good. I receive it with gratitude and wisdom. Each time you pay a bill, say, I bless this expense. I circulate the good. I trust the inexhaustible flow of divine provision. Do not fear payments. Do not lament what goes out. Give thanks for being able to fulfill, and let circulation follow its course. Practice the daily treatment of stewardship. Each morning affirm, God is my source, my provision never fails. Everything I need comes to me at the perfect time, in the perfect way, and in the perfect amount. I am grateful and share the good I receive. Visualize the flow of abundance as a river passing through your life, renewing, cleansing, and fertilizing everything it touches. If fear of scarcity arises, deny its power. Scarcity has no reality in God. I am one with infinite sufficiency. Everything is provided now. Tithing, or its equivalent in service and generosity, is a discipline that expands consciousness of circulation. Set aside a portion of your income, small or large, for the common good, for help, education, service, or support of just causes. It is not the amount, but the attitude that matters. Tithing is not a bribe to God, but acknowledgement that all comes from the source and must return in circulation. Every heartfelt giving opens new doors to abundance in your life. Clear mental debts. Many live bound by old guilt, resentment for unpaid debts, or unfulfilled promises. Do an inner review. Forgive those who owe you. Release expectations, bless, and let go. If you have material debts, face them with faith and order. Do not blame yourself or despair. Begin to pay little by little, blessing each payment, asking for wisdom to manage, and creativity to generate income. Honesty and goodwill attract help and open unexpected paths. The result of this practice is financial order. You no longer spend impulsively or incur debt from fear. Every income and expense has meaning and direction. The mind clears, useful ideas appear, opportunities grow. Prosperity ceases to be struggle and becomes vibrant circulation. Your income aligns with the real value you contribute, with excellence and service, not with chance or meaningless effort. Close this chapter with a powerful affirmation. I give and receive in the inexhaustible flow of good. I bless everything that passes through my hands. I am a faithful steward of divine abundance. Circulation, order, and sufficiency manifest in my life now. Amen. Make giving and receiving your daily prayer. Circulate good, be grateful, share, serve, and improve. Thus, God's will, prosperity, and order will be revealed in every area of your life, and your material experience will finally be a living testimony that good never runs out. It only multiplies through wise and joyful circulation. Chapter 10. Practical Love, Relationships, Peace, and Cooperation. The highest commandment given to humanity is neither complex nor distant. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. John 13:34. There is no higher law, no principle more transformative. Fulfilling God's will in the realm of relationships is not an abstract ideal. It is the art of seeing Christ in others beyond appearances, mistakes, or differences. It is acting from the golden rule. Do to others what you would have them do to you. This is the secret of practical love. It builds bridges where others see walls, creates peace where once there was conflict, and opens paths for cooperation in daily life. Love, in its deepest sense, is not a fleeting emotion or blind attachment. It is understanding, the will for good, recognition of the dignity and value of another as a child of God. To love does not mean to approve everything or submit to another's will. It is to see with clarity, listen with attention, speak truthfully, and act with justice. It respects the freedom of others while affirming the good as a common goal. The first step to practicing love in relationships is the affirmation of unity. Before any encounter, conversation, or important decision, pause and repeat. I recognize the Christ in you. We are children of God, united in good. Only love guides and sustains us. This simple declaration changes the vibratory field, predisposes the mind to peace, and opens the door to more genuine communication. The affirmation of unity does not erase differences, but reminds us of the common root of all life. Attentive listening is an essential tool of practical love. To listen is more than hearing words. It is receiving the other without judgment or hurry, without preparing a response or defending oneself in advance. When you listen this way, the other person's soul perceives it, relaxes, and expresses itself more truthfully. Many tensions dissolve simply through the presence of real listening. Love does not need to be right all the time. It creates space for truth to manifest in dialogue. Before a difficult conversation, especially where disagreement, conflict, or fear of rejection exists, practice a silent blessing beforehand. I bless this conversation. I bless the person I will meet. Good precedes us. Love guides us. Wisdom speaks to us. Everything resolves in divine order. This invisible act is like sweeping the path before walking it. The atmosphere changes, words flow more easily, and the possibility of agreement increases. In relationships, loving sometimes requires reconciliation. Other times, it requires setting healthy boundaries. Love is not allowing abuse, contempt, manipulation, or submission. Love also says no when necessary. It means stepping away from a harmful connection, creating distance when respect is broken. True love is whole and firm. It does not give in to blackmail, nor does it blackmail. If you must decide whether to continue or release a bond, ask in silence. Does this contribute to my good and the good of the other? Does it allow growth, service, and free expression with respect? If the answer is no, love invites letting go with peace, without hatred or resentment. Every decision made within the framework of peace, even when painful, is blessed by divine law. Cooperation does not mean uniformity or submission. It is the ability to combine forces, talents, and different visions in service of a higher purpose. Practical love is creative. It seeks simple agreements, common solutions, and ways of living together that respect the dignity of all. When conflict arises, the key question is not who wins, but how can we all win? Where competition yields to cooperation, God's will manifests as peace, prosperity, and growth for all. Consider an illustrative case. Two business partners disagree about the direction of their company. For weeks they argue, defend positions, and accuse each other. The relationship deteriorates. One remembers the principle and changes approach. Before each meeting, he silently blesses the other, affirms unity in good, and listens patiently. He begins to see not an adversary but a collaborator temporarily lost in confusion. Soon the atmosphere changes. New ideas emerge, unexpected agreements are reached, and the business prospers. It was not merely strategy, it was the application of the law of love. The same applies in family, friendship, or romantic relationships. Sometimes the greatest act of love is to apologize, acknowledge an error, or release the expectation that the other change first. Other times it is holding faith in the good of another, even when they seem distant or lost. Love does not force, it waits, blesses, and sustains the vision of Christ in the other until they themselves can see it. Remember Paul's words, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails." 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. The indicator that God's will is at work in your relationships is the presence of mutual respect, the ease of reaching simple agreements, and above all, sustained peace even amidst disagreements. When peace remains even without unanimity, the Spirit is working. Make love your practical guide, affirm unity, listen attentively, bless each encounter, set limits when necessary, cooperate creatively. If the relationship continues, peace and joy will grow. If it ends, it will do so without harm, without hatred, and with gratitude for what was shared. Close this chapter with a simple and powerful affirmation. I see Christ in every person. God's love guides my words, my actions, and my decisions. I cooperate, bless, and act always from peace. Thus, God's will manifests in my relationships now. Do this, and you will see that practical love is the force that sustains life and the key to all happy coexistence. Where there is love, God's will is peace, growth, and shared joy. Chapter 11. Trials in the Dark Night, Remaining in the Word. Every human life encounters the valley of shadow. Sooner or later, trials arrive, unexpected illness, painful loss, financial crisis, betrayal, loneliness, or nameless uncertainty. Sometimes the night seems endless, the mind fills with questions and the heart with fear. There is an impulse to abandon spiritual practice, to stop affirming good, to surrender to the appearance of evil. But it is precisely in those moments when faith seems weakest that the opportunity for growth and transformation is greatest. The dark night is not punishment nor abandonment. It is the crucible in which what must go is purified, and practical faith is strengthened. The faith that rests on the living word, not on shifting moods. Remember, trials reveal, they do not create. They expose the mental and emotional residues that still need purification. Just as fire shows the impurities in metal, difficulty brings to light fears, doubts, and old patterns still residing in the subconscious. Do not fear these revelations. Be grateful. They signal that you are ready to cleanse, to heal, to ascend to a higher level of consciousness. Each crisis faced with courage becomes the threshold of a fuller life. The most common mistake in the dark night is abandoning spiritual practice precisely when it is needed most. Many stop praying, affirming, or remembering the truth because they feel it is not working. But the law is infallible. What you sow in the light of day germinates in the night, even if unseen. Faith is not a passing emotion, but a firm certainty that the word has power, even when appearances contradict all that has been affirmed. Make Psalm 23 your refuge in trials. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This affirmation does not remove the difficulty, but it places the soul in the current of good, where protection, guidance, and provision manifest in unexpected ways. Isaiah 41:10 is another pillar. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When fear arises, repeat these words slowly and with faith until anxiety diminishes and an inexplicable calm begins to settle in your heart. During times of crisis, do not seek long practices or grand gestures. Often, a brief routine repeated many times a day is sufficient. Whenever the mind drifts toward fear, pause and practice one of these short treatments. Denial of fear. This has no power over me. God is my strength and my refuge. Truth sustains me now. Proclamation of protection. I am wrapped in God's light. Nothing can touch me except good. I am safe and guided. Affirmation of peace. The peace of God dwells in my heart. Nothing external can disturb it. I rest in good. In moments of anxiety or panic, apply the golden key without hesitation. Stop thoughts of the problem and repeatedly direct the mind toward God. Do not fight the distress. Simply recite everything you know of God. God is love. God is power. God is wisdom. God is here. God guides me. God sustains me. Repeat as many times as necessary until even a small crack of light appears in the darkness. In cases of loss, grief, or separation, do not deny or hide the pain. Allow yourself to feel, to cry, to honor what was shared, but do not linger in the wound. When the pain eases slightly, affirm silently. I am grateful for the time shared. I release with love. I trust that life continues to guide my path and that of those I love. Acceptance and trust open the door to healing. If the trial is illness, in addition to receiving all necessary medical help, maintain your brief spiritual treatments. Give thanks for every sign of improvement, every person assisting you, every small progress. Do not fear setbacks. Spiritual healing is a process. Each night, give thanks for the invisible work of the Spirit. Thank you, God, for renewing my being even as I sleep. I trust in your healing power. Uncertainty, however dense it may appear, is fertile ground for creative faith. When nothing seems certain, when you cannot see the next step, say, I trust that the path unfolds one step at a time. God's wisdom guides me. I do not fear the future. God is already there. Keep a journal of small miracles during the dark night. Record every sign of help, each act of kindness received, each new idea, each favorable coincidence. These small miracles are proof that good has not abandoned you. They are harbingers of the greater blessing to come. Little by little, spiritual resilience grows. You discover that you can endure, advance, learn and grow even amid difficulty. Your strength does not depend on what happens outside, but on the power awakened within. The goal of the dark night is not only to survive, but to emerge renewed, with practical, steady, and serene faith. You learn that remaining in the Word, even when the mind screams otherwise, is the highest expression of self-mastery. The living Word repeated in the midst of the storm calms the waves and reveals the path. Close this chapter with a practice. Breathe deeply. Place your hand over your heart. Say aloud or silently, I do not fear, for God is with me. Every step is guided. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every night has its dawn. I remain in the Word, and the Word sustains me. So it is. Do this daily, hourly, if necessary. Do not abandon the practice. Trust the promise. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. The dark night is only passage. The light is already being born within you. Amen. Chapter 12. A consecrated life, purpose, service, and creative joy. A consecrated life is not a matter for monasteries or souls separated from the world. It is the vocation of every human being born into this plane. The will of God is living purpose, the joy of serving, work well done, and delight in daily life. The world often waits unknowingly for people to awaken who manifest the kingdom here and now, not with grandiose words, but with the quiet light of an everyday life dedicated to good. Let me say this clearly. The meaning of existence is revealed when you decide to unite talent, need, and love. There is no higher destiny, no nobler task. Why have you come into this world? To leave it better than you found it, to illuminate even a corner of darkness, to add where others subtract, to create, serve, inspire, console, organize, discover, teach, or simply sustain peace amidst the storm. Jesus expressed it this way: "Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Matthew 5:16. Your unique gift, your talent, your capacity to love, your ability to resolve, listen, heal, build, guide, imagine, translate, or understand, becomes the instrument of consecration. A consecrated life begins when you become aware of that gift and choose to place it at the service of others, not out of obligation, but for the natural joy of collaborating with good. Ephesians 2:10 confirms this principle. "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." There is a path, a work, a way of serving that only you can accomplish. No one else has your place, your perspective, your story. Discovering that purpose and living it day by day is the highest form of prayer. To sustain this new way of living, I propose a simple, practical, and luminous plan. 1. Morning prayer. Upon waking, before consulting the outside world, dedicate a few minutes to meet the source. Give thanks for the new day. Affirm your unity with God and state your purpose. Father, make me today a channel of your good. May my work, my words, and my thoughts serve to bless, heal, and uplift others. Guide me in every step. So be it. This brief prayer orients the mind, clears the spirit, and prepares the field for the daily miracle. 2. Excellent work. Make your daily labor, whatever it may be, an offering to the Spirit. Do not work merely for salary, approval, or routine. Work as one fulfilling a sacred mission. Place excellence in the details, joy in the process, honesty in dealings, and beauty in the outcome. Charity is the expression of the soul. Work done with love becomes silent prayer and attracts opportunities, assistance, and genuine recognition. 3. Generosity. Cultivate the habit of giving beyond expectation. Give time, attention, help, counsel, joy, and material resources if possible. Do not withhold generosity out of fear of scarcity. The law assures that what is given from the heart returns multiplied. A consecrated life is, above all, a life that circulates good with joy. 4. Brief study. Set aside a few minutes each day to nourish your mind with truth. Read a verse, a page of inspiration, or an elevated reflection. Seek depth, not quantity. Allow the word, heard, read, or remembered, to plant seeds in your thought. Daily spiritual study keeps the inner flame alive and reminds you of your purpose. 5. Silence. Reserve at least one moment each day for silence. Turn off external voices and listen within. Silence is the workshop of the Spirit. There arise ideas, comfort, guidance, and renewal. Do not fear stillness, it is where the voice of good speaks. 6. Evening gratitude. At the close of the day, review with gratitude every good received, every challenge overcome, every lesson learned. Give thanks for opportunities, relationships, work, health, and even for difficulties that have strengthened you. Gratitude transforms memory and prepares restorative sleep. This sequence is not rigid or heavy. Adapt it to your reality. What matters is intention, living each day as a covenant with the will of good, leaving empty routine behind, and embracing the creative joy of one who knows they are on a mission. A consecrated life is not escape from the world, but the embodiment of light within real life. Gradually, you will discover that problems lose weight, relationships improve, health strengthens, and joy becomes a faithful companion. The soul feels that everything has meaning, that every task, no matter how small, is a link in a greater plan. Even suffering becomes a teacher, and solitude a space to meet the Spirit. To seal this chapter and this path, make a personal covenant with the will of good. Say aloud or in your heart, "Today I choose to consecrate my life to good. I commit to discover and express my unique gift, to serve with joy, to seek excellence, to give generously, to grow in truth, and to rest in gratitude. Let your will, Father, be my daily vocation. Make me a channel of your light, Emil." And if fatigue, discouragement, or confusion ever try to divert you, repeat this consecration practice. The will of God for me is joy, service, and fulfillment. I renew my purpose. I trust in divine guidance. I act, bless, give thanks, and rest in good. So it is. Thus, day by day, the will of God becomes flesh in your life. Your existence becomes prayer, your work a blessing, your steps a light for others. Let it be so, here and now. Amen.